So it is the second of two Bellator cards this weekend from Hawaii. We have got the main event this weekend, or this Saturday, Chris Cyborg versus Blencowe for the featherweight championship. Then also two Bantamweight Grand Prix fights. The first one being for the interim Bantamweight championship. Ralphie and Stots taking on the former champ in Juan Archuleta. And then also Patchy Mix versus Kyoji Horiguchi in the other Grand Prix fight. It's a really good card, one of the better ones Bellator has put on. 13 fights. And folks, if you have not yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for more MMA here on the channel. This is our fourth MMA video we posted this weekend. The first, of course, being UFC Fight Night, Lemos versus Andrade, then Bellator 278, and then, of course, PFL and this one as well. So be on the lookout for more MMA next week, but hit that subscribe button down below if you are new to the channel. So since it's Bellator, there's a lot of fights that are very easy to predict, except for one out of these first four fights on the card, but we'll go through a couple of them real quick that are pretty easy. Ryan De La Cruz taking on Jordan Winski. Jordan Winski's not losing this fight. It's that simple. I mean, is a huge favorite going into this one. This one was just announced, I do believe, today. But Winski is coming off the loss to Brian Moore, but he fought in CFFC and all that. His opponent in Ryan De La Cruz, I'll be honest, I've never heard of him. I mean, just lost in CES last year. He had a couple fights in Bellator, actually one fight in Bellator back in 2018 against a guy who was 6-9 at the time. He owns a win over Zach Zane. Okay, I mean, beating Zach Zane, though, is really nothing special. Yeah, the guy's 37. Jordan Winski's probably going to go right through him. I got Jordan Winski by decision. He'll probably finish him, but for now, we got him by decision. Second fight of the night, of course, we have got Janae Harding taking on Adanya Silva. Going to be taking Harding in this one. I just think all around she's better than Silva. She's fought the better competition as well. She's a pretty big favorite coming into this one. She's coming off the loss to Liam McCourt. But McCourt, one of the top fighters Bellator does currently have at 145. She's got a win over Sinead Kavanagh as well back in 2018. Yeah, she fought Blencowe back in Australia, I do believe, in 2017. She ended up losing that fight by KO in the first round. But all around, Janae Harding is better than Silva. Next fight, we have got Randy Field taking on Mariah Miller. This is a fight where they want to get Randy Field a victory. She just fought Sumiko Inaba in her last fight, and we're going to get to Inaba's fight tonight in just a couple seconds. But Inaba beat her by arm triangle choke in the second round. But Inaba was winning that fight in the feet. It was just a pretty dominant performance for Inaba, but still, Field held her own. Her striking wasn't great in that fight. Honestly, it wasn't too impressive. And her only two wins her only two wins in her MMA career are against a 0-3 Amanda Lovato and a 3-5 fighter afterwards. So she really hasn't fought anybody, but she's taken on Mariah Miller, a fighter who has not fought anybody as well. She's 1-1 at 2 fights in Combate. She's 1-1 in the promotion. She's supposed to have good jiu-jitsu, but again, I don't think she's good enough to beat Randy Field. I think Field is just better than her. She's fought, I mean, again, her fighting with Inaba was not incredible, but I think she's just all around better than a relatively unknown fighter. No, an unknown fighter in Mariah Miller. And then, of course, our final fight of the first four, we've got Keone Diggs versus Bobby King. A very close fight to pick because both these guys are very talented. For Bobby King, coming in this fight with a record of 11-4, he just beat Gonzales in his last fight, beaten by KO or doctor stoppage at the end of the first round. He's got the win over Nick Newell, of course, the fighter that, you know, he's known for only having one arm, but he beat Nick Newell by split decision as well in Bellator. He's taken on Keone Diggs in this one. Keone Diggs is the favorite going into this fight. He's 9-1. The only loss being that Daniel Whiteshaw loss last year. He lost on by split decision, but he owns a win over Derek Campos. In his second fight in Bellator, you're going to see this one contested on the mat because both these guys are, I would say, have high-level jiu-jitsu and both are good grapplers. I think Keone Diggs is all around better. I think he's going to win this one by decision. So all four of these picks out of the first four fights we're saying by decision. In this one, though, we're going with Keone Diggs to beat Bobby King by unanimous decision. So Bellator definitely thinks they have their next Hawaiian star, of course, here in Sumiko Inaba. She's 3-0 so far, fighting professional MMA. And her last fight again over Randy Field, it was good. I mean, that's all I can say about it. It was a good fight. She's beating her on the feet. She takes her down in the second round and then, of course, submits her with an arm triangle choke. Again, she's 3-0 in Bellator. She hasn't fought anyone really that great so far. And this opponent in Whitney Pyles, she's going to run right through her. I know Pyles is coming off a win in LFA where she won by decision. She was a big underdog in that one just last month, but she didn't end up winning that fight by unanimous decision. But still, Whitney Pyles is not on the level of Sumiko Inaba. Inaba is going to go straight through her. I don't think this fight's all that competitive. I think she's going to take her down and win by ground and pound in the first round. Going TKO finish for Sumiko Inaba. Just highlighting this fight because you know Bellator wants you to talk about it, so I'll talk about it, I guess. But again, it's one of these fights. It's a classic, like, Bellator does this all the time. They try to build up fighters. This is what they're doing with Inaba. They're taking their time with her. She's only 31, so she's still got some time to eventually climb the ranks, of course, at 125. I don't know, they're probably setting up for a super fight with her and Alamale Macfarlane someday. But yeah, going Sumiko Inaba to win this one by first round TKO. So it's the Bellator debut of Yancy Medeiros, and he's taking on Emmanuel Sanchez, and both these guys haven't won in a while. I mean, Sanchez is on a 3-fight losing streak. The thing is, Emmanuel Sanchez's losses are a little bit better than Yancy Medeiros' losses. And you look at Yancy Medeiros, who just got cut from the UFC. He's 0-4 in his last 4 fights, and it starts off with that main event spot against Donald Cowboy Cerrone over in Austin, Texas. He loses the fight by KO in the first round. It's just, it's a Cowboy domination. He knocks down Medeiros 3 times in that first round. It's kind of just playing with him. It's a Cowboy victory, and it's a pretty dominant victory for Cerrone. So Medeiros turns that into a fight against Gregor Gillespie after that, and Gillespie absolutely dominates him on the ground. I mean, Medeiros just gets ragdolled. Gillespie's got, really good top control. Medeiros is barely on his feet that entire fight. It's just pure domination on the ground for Gillespie. Finally, the fight is stopped at the end of the second round by TKO. And then after that, Medeiros turns that into a fight against Lando Venata over in Rio Rancho on the Anderson Blakovic card, and Lando Venata dominates him on the feet. Medeiros just can't get going. Obviously, you know what Medeiros is going to do. He's going to try to brawl with you. He's going to try to throw big power shots, and he'll always be there. As long as the fight's standing, he'll probably be there for the entire 15 minutes. But Venata is just outstriking him in that fight. And then his last fight was kind of competitive. It was against Damir Hadzovic. It's a close fight, but not really. Damir Hadzovic wins it 2-1. It's pretty obvious. I picked Medeiros in that one. Hadzovic, of course, gets the win. And now here we are against Emmanuel Sanchez. And when we look at Emmanuel Sanchez's losses, I know he's lost 3 in a row, but look at the guys he's been fighting. I mean, Patricio Pitbull for the featherweight championship. He loses to Mads Burnell, who's on a roll now. Mads Burnell, of course, just to lose that fight to Adam Borch, but still a good fighter in Burnell. And then he lost to Jeremy Kennedy, who's a good fighter too. And yes, is Kennedy on the level of Burnell and Pitbull? Maybe not, but still, I think Sanchez is at the point in his career where he's still better than Yancy Medeiros. If Sanchez is able to land a takedown, I think it's going to be game over for Medeiros here. I would say stoppage for Sanchez, but I'll go with the safer pick, because if Sanchez isn't able to go back to the well multiple times in this fight, then you could see parts of this fight standing up. But it's just, can Medeiros knock out Sanchez? Could, but I don't see it happening. I think Sanchez is going to be able to stay out of danger in this fight. He'll be able to get this one to the ground. I think Emmanuel Sanchez will get back on his winning ways. Beating Medeiros in Hawaii, I think Sanchez will pick up the win by unanimous decision. Next up at welterweight, we've got Goichi Yamauchi taking on Levon Chokheli. For Yamauchi, he was supposed to fight just a couple weeks ago. He was supposed to take on Derek Anderson. That fight, though, ended up getting canceled. So now here he is in Hawaii taking on Chokheli. You know what Yamauchi's very good at. He's got a tremendous ground game. He's always trying to get fights to the ground. He's taking on Chokheli here, who, wants to keep fights standing. So it's a classic grappler versus striker fight. This fight's easy to break down. Can Yamauchi get this one down? If he can't, he'll probably lose, because he'll probably get struck up for 15 minutes. He'll probably get pieced up on the feet. If he's able to take down Chokheli, he'll probably be able to submit him within the 15-minute allotted time slot. I'm gonna say it's gonna be the latter. I think Yamauchi's gonna be able to get this one to the ground. I think he's all around just better than Chokheli. Again, it's just solely dependent on if Yamauchi can get this takedown. I think he'll be able to get it, and I think that's gonna propel him to victory in this one. Not much else can be said. Again, it's classic striker versus grappler. If Chokheli's able to keep this one on the feet, he'll probably piece up Yamauchi, but I'm pretty confident in Yamauchi's ability to get this one to the ground. So I'm going to go with Goichi Yamauchi to beat Levon Chokheli. I think we get the takedown in the first round, then he'll go back to it in the second, eventually get the finish in the second round. So we're going to go with the Yamauchi second round submission win over Levon Chokheli. All right, Kamaka III taking on Justin Gonzales. Close fight here. I think it's one of the closer fights to pick up this entire card, because Kamaka, of course, coming off of his first win in Bellator over John De Jesus, winning that fight by unanimous decision at Bellator 272. Now he's taking on Justin Gonzales. And of course, for Kamaka, he had that weird run in the UFC where he comes in, he beats Tony Kelly, he loses to JSP and Jonathan Pierce, has that weird split decision loss to TJ Brown, a fight that he definitely won, but they ended up giving the scorecards to Brown. And then after that, for Kamaka, he fought Danny Chavez, he had a majority draw, and the UFC cut him. Now he's taking on Justin Gonzales, his second fight here in Bellator. And Gonzales is a tough guy to go through. I mean, this guy is very good. Coming over from LFA was his last fight before heading on to the UFC. He was the Bellator. He was the LFA featherweight champion. Then he comes into Bellator, wins by split decision over Taiwan Claxton, and then he has to fight against Aaron Pico. It's a competitive fight, but he loses by unanimous decision, which is all right, because Aaron Pico's, one of the top guys Bellator's got at 145. But Gonzales also owns a win on the Contender Series where he fought Zach Zane. Ended up winning that one by unanimous decision. Did not end up getting the contract to the UFC, but he's on the same Contender Series show as Miguel Baeza, Miles Johns, and Kyle Dawkins. 3 guys who, Baeza just got knocked out, but guys who are having some success in the UFC. Gonzales doesn't get the contract, but now here he is taking on a former UFC caliber guy in Kamaka III. I just think it's a tough stylistic matchup for Kamaka. I know he's coming, back in Bellator now, and he is undefeated, I do believe, in Bellator. But man, and he is fighting at home here in Hawaii, but I just think it's a tough stylistic matchup for him, because Gonzales, again, will bring it on the feet. He has a very good striker. I just think it's tough for Kamaka. I really think it is. Gonzales' striking is on point. Like the fights I've seen of him on the Contender Series, and when he beat Claxton as well in Bellator, and then when he fought an LFA for the featherweight championship too, getting that finish in the 4th round. He can go all 15 and more like he showed in that LFA fight. I think he's going to be able to beat Kamaka III. I think he'll get it done by decision through domination on the feet, going with Justin Gonzales to pick up the win. Super easy pick here. Lance Gibson Jr. is not losing. He's not losing this fight. I mean, the guy's undefeated. He's 5-0. He's had 3 of those fights in Bellator. 2 of them have been finishes. 1 of them was by decision. His last fight, ground pound victory, winning by TKO over Raymond Pena. He's not losing this fight. He's just not. I mean, this should be pure domination. Wherever Gibson wants this one, he should be able to win. If he wants to go to the takedown, you know, work his ground and pound and all that, he should be able to have it. Even if he wants it on the feet, I think he can be able to showcase some of his striking as well. But honestly, it probably will be takedown for Lance Gibson, and then, you know, pure ground and pound and all that on the ground. This fight's not that competitive at all. I don't know how big of a favorite he is going to this one, but he should be a huge favorite. I don't think anyone's, you know, picking against Lance Gibson in this one. It's one of these classic, again, in Bellator, build up one of these fighters' fights. Lance Gibson Jr. wins this one in the 1st round, takedown, ground and pound, fight over. Lance Gibson Jr. is your winner by 1st round TKO. And this pick might be even easier. I mean, Alamale Macfarlane taking on Justine Kish. Justine Kish was so low-level UFC. Now over in Bellator, you're telling me Justine Kish, who just lost to Deanna Bennett, is losing to Alamale Macfarlane? Exactly, she's not. Sabina Mazo sub Justine Kish. And Mazo's not bad, of course, but, I mean, come on. If Sabina Mazo's finishing you by submission, Alamale Macfarlane's going to do the exact same damn thing. Again, Kish, she has that weird win over Nina Ansfarov. She got all the way back in 2016. She beats her by an unanimous decision. But since then, Justine Kish has not been the same fighter. I mean, she's dropped, what, 5 out of her last 6 fights, the only win being over Lucia Putelova. But other than that, I mean, she lost to Tracy Cortez, she lost to Deanna Bennett, she lost to Ji-Yeon Kim, she lost to Felice Herrig. Alamale Macfarlane, you might be down here because of her last performance against Juliana Velasquez, but she's still a pretty damn good fighter. And as long as she can get a takedown in this one, it's fight over. It's for Justine Kish. Again, if Sabina Mazo is able to submit you, Alamale Macfarlane's gonna be able to submit you as well. She's a huge favorite coming into this one for good reason. On Tapology, I think he got like 98% picked for Alamale Macfarlane. Again, she had lost to Juliana Velasquez. She loses to Velasquez. That's what's going to happen. Velasquez is one of the top flyweights in the world. If she was in the UFC, she'd be easy top 5-ish, I would say. She'd probably be, probably easy top 5. Macfarlane's like a top 15 flyweight in the world. Justine Kish is nowhere near her level. Again, she's the former Bellator champion for a reason. She came in, she subbed Laterno in the 3rd round. She subbed Alejandro Lara in the 3rd. Yeah, she's not losing this fight. It's that simple. It's going to be pure grappling and wrestling for Alamale Macfarlane. Eventually in the 2nd round, she's going to take it back. She's going to submit Justine Kish, and she's going to submit her with a rear naked choke. So I got Alamale Macfarlane to win in her comeback fight here in Hawaii. She'll get the job done by 2nd round submission. So in the 1st round of the Bellator Bantamweight Grand Prix, we've got the former Bellator champion in Kyoji Horiguchi and the current Rizin Bantamweight champion in Kyoji Horiguchi taking on Patchy Mix. For Patchy Mix, back-to-back wins after challenging for the Bantamweight Championship, the vacant Bantamweight Championship, of course, that Kyoji Horiguchi vacated because he was over in Japan. But it was him and one Archuleta for the belt. He loses to Archuleta by unanimous decision. So then Mix comes back. He beats Albert Morales. He beats him by arm triangle choke in the 3rd round. He's a huge favorite, minus 1,000 going into that one. They're just trying to get Mix a win. And then he beats James Gallagher most recently in November on that card over in Ireland. He just dominates Gallagher from pillar to post. It's not that, not that competitive. Mix ends up subbing him in the 3rd round with the guillotine choke. And that's, if Patchy Mix is going to win this fight, he's going to have to try to submit Kyoji Horiguchi, because on the feet, this one's not competitive. Horiguchi's very good. And I know it is a little bit concerning considering Horiguchi just fought, 3 months ago, and he got brutally knocked out, the spinning back fist. I mean, he was out for a while. That was 4 months ago. Okay, so that has been a minute. But it was 4 months ago, or Pettis, and we'll talk about the fight real quick. Bellator 272. Horiguchi's dominating the fight. Like, he's on his way easy to win the championship. He's up 3 rounds to nothing. He's going into the 4th and 5th rounds, and he's still beating the brakes off of Sergio Pettis. But Pettis catches him with that damn spinning back fist, knocks him out cold, and retains the championship. And unfortunately, Pettis is not in this tournament, and I was hoping he was going to be because, I kind of want the rematch between Pettis and Horiguchi, but I'm not going to lie, I thought Rufian Stots was going to beat Sergio Pettis. But anyways, here we are, though, with Horiguchi and Mix, and again, Horiguchi's striking is incredible. Don't, get that Pettis loss confused or nothing. He's still a very good striker, and yeah, he did get caught in that one fight, but if you look at his work when he wins the Rizin Championship at the end of 2020, when he regains the belt, that knockout in the 1st round, when he dominates De'Aaron Caldwell, I'm going to win the championship in Bellator, when he knocks out
out Ben Nguyen in Ryzen, when he knocks out Caldwell, or when he submits Caldwell for the Ryzen Bantamweight Championship, the guy's really good. I mean, Horiguchi is one of these guys who, when, after he beat Ali Bagantinov in the UFC, should not have been cut from the promotion when they cut all those flyweights. Horiguchi should still be in the UFC right now, and I would make the case if he was still in the UFC, he'd probably be fighting 125s, and he'd probably be the champion right now. Like, that's how good Kyoji Horiguchi is. I think he would have a very close fight with Figueiredo right now. I think he'd have a very close fight with Kara France and with Brandon Moreno. The guy's extremely talented. His only loss in the UFC was Demetrius Johnson. I mean, the guy went like 11-1 in the UFC, and then he got cut. Since then, he's got 2 losses. One's to Kaya for the Ryzen Championship, then he got that championship back a year later when he knocked him out at the New Year's Eve card, and then, of course, the other losses to Sergio Pettis, where he just lost 4 months ago, where he got knocked out with spinning back fist. Horiguchi is so incredibly talented. Of course, Patchy Mix's one way to victory in this one is through the grappling, but Kyoji Horiguchi has got very good defensive wrestling, very good defensive jiu-jitsu. I don't think he's going to get put in any situations that he's going to lose this fight on the ground. I think he'll be able to get this fight standing too, because I don't think Mix is going to be able to take him down. So if he can't, Kyoji Horiguchi should dominate on the feet. I think it's just going to be a 5-round beatdown for Kyoji Horiguchi. I could definitely see a finish. Patchy Mix is tough, though, to finish, so I don't think he's going to be able to get that. I think Mix will have some moments on the ground. He might be able to take him down a couple times working the clinch, but still, I think Horiguchi, for the most part, will be able to outstrike Patchy Mix. I'm going Kyoji Horiguchi to beat Patchy Mix by unanimous decision. I think it's a 49-46 dominant decision for Horiguchi, moving on to the second round. And now for the interim Bantamweight Championship, it will be the former champion Juan Archuleta taking on Raufeon Stots, and it sucks for Stots because he was going to get that title opportunity against Sergio Pettis. It was going to be the 2 Rufus Sport guys going at it for the World Championship. Unfortunately for Stots, Pettis is now out of this fight, and now he's got to go through a bunch of killers to get that shot against Pettis again. Pettis tore his ACL, so he's no longer in the tournament. But here we go, Stots versus Archuleta, and my goodness, Raufeon Stots' last performance was incredible. I mean, when he goes in there, he beats Magomedov, fight that nobody thought he was going to win. He comes in there, beats him by unanimous decision. My goodness. And what Raufeon Stots does so well, he mixes his striking with his grappling, and he's just such an unpredictable fighter. I think that's going to make it tough on Archuleta, because Stots, mixes his styles so well to the point where, he's striking, but he's going back to the grappling, he's going back to the striking. I think it's just tough. I think Stots is a very tough matchup for anyone at Bellator at 135, but Juan Archuleta, you know what he's good at. He's a really good striker. Of course, he's coming off that loss to Sergio Pettis, and that was his last fight. Pettis is a Rufus Sport guy. Stots a Rufus Sport guy too. I mean, they kind of got the game plan on how to beat Juan Archuleta. I just think Raufeon Stots going to follow that same game plan and probably beat Juan Archuleta again. Again, the win over Magomedov is incredible. The win over Josh Hill keeps on looking better and better. He beat Keith Lee, beat Cass Bell. Again, Stots has not lost so far in Bellator. They signed him after he was, winning a lot in LFA. He got the Dana White came to the Ring of Combat card just to see him, and I talk about this every time I talk about Raufeon Stots, or Merab really. They came into the Ring of Combat card for Raufeon Stots, and Merab Dvalishvili just catches him with a spinning back fist 15 seconds, and Stots is knocked out cold. Merab gets the contract, Stots doesn't, and now he's got to build himself back up. He goes to LFA, he wins a bunch there, and now, of course, he's here in Bellator, and Raufeon Stots will keep making the case that he's the number one bantamweight in the world. You can make that all you want, but unfortunately, with that loss to Merab, you kind of can't make that, okay. I think Stots is good. I think he's a top 10 guy, at least, top 15 guy at bantamweight, but again, he's got the loss to Merab, so it's hard to make the case that he's really, top 5 in the world at bantamweight, but Merab's a very good fighter, but when you get knocked out by Merab, then that's a little bit concerning, but he just got caught, nothing you can do about it. But Raufeon Stots since then has been incredible. I mean, his submission win over Caspel is really, really good. Just his domination of a bunch of these guys, and it's just the upset win over Magomedov that really carries into this fight and sticks out. And yeah, is Archuleta a good fighter? 100% he is. Juan Archuleta is a very talented fighter, very talented striker, and his only losses in Bellator are Patricio Pitbull and Sergio Pettis, who 2 are the best guys that Bellator's got. But man, I think Raufeon Stots is one of those guys as well. I think Stots is going to beat him. I think Stots gets him by decision. Yeah, I think Raufeon Stots just dominate. I don't know if I won't say he dominates. I think it's going to be a top 5 for him because I think Archuleta is going to steal rounds on the feet 100%. But all around, I like the game of Raufeon Stots to beat Juan Archuleta. I think he wins the interim bantamweight championship here for Bellator. And yeah, we're going Raufeon Stots to win the championship and new by decision. And it's main event time. It's Chris Cyborg versus Arlene Blencowe. I think I accidentally called Ari on in the opener. My apologies, but Chris Cyborg's gonna dominate this fight. Like, it's not a competitive fight, guys. Arlene Blencowe's gonna get dominated in this one. It's Chris Cyborg versus Blencowe again. I don't know why Blencowe's getting the next title shot. Well, I do know it's just Bellator doesn't have any options at 145, and I think they were hoping that Leah McCourt beat Kavanaugh. She didn't, and now they kind of dug themselves in a hole saying that Kavanaugh's going to get a shot at Chris Cyborg again. But in the meanwhile, she's got to fight Arlene Blencowe, and Chris Cyborg's just going to dominate this fight. I mean, when she beat Blencowe the first time back in 2020, I mean, it was her first submission win since when? I mean, forever. It's her only submission win, Cris Cyborg, when she submitted Arlene Blencowe the first time around. Will she do it again? Probably not, because she'll probably just finish her on the feet this time. I think Cris Cyborg's gonna make a point in this one. It's a first round knockout, kind of like the Kavanaugh fight. Obviously, Blencowe's not gonna swing wildly like Kavanaugh is going to, and definitely like what Kavanaugh will do in their second fight with Cyborg. But anyways, Cris Cyborg's still gonna dominate this one. She can dominate on the feet, she can dominate on the ground. Arlene Blencowe's not on her level. No one at Bellator at 145 is on her level. Julia Budd was the only one that could make the case and could make, you know, somewhat of a threat to Cyborg, but now she's in the PFL fighting 155, and she'll be fighting Kayla Harrison instead of Kayla Harrison be fighting Cris Cyborg. There's no other fighters for Cyborg to fight 145 except for Kat Zingano, but Zingano is one of these fighters who, I mean, probably one of the only fighters you're going to see that does not want to fight for the championship, at least not yet. Zingano wants like 3 more fights before she fights Cyborg, so they're going to build her up slowly, give her a bunch of no names, and probably eventually set up for the huge fight with Cyborg, and Zingano and Cris Cyborg will probably finish her in like 5 minutes. So there's no one to fight Cris at Bellator here in 145. She'll be the champion again for like another 5 years, even though she is 36. But again, I just don't see anyone at Bellator that can stop her right now. I think Cris Cyborg's pound for pound maybe the best women's fighter on the planet right now. She's that damn good, and she's not going to get any challenges right now in Bellator. She'll beat Arlene Blencowe predominantly. First round KO finish, it's not even competitive, and still Cris Cyborg, the featherweight champion here at Bellator. And folks, thank y'all for watching this Bellator 279 preview and predictions video. If you haven't yet, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more Bellator here on the channel. We'll be back for the next Bellator card, which I do believe is Ryan Bader and Czech Congo. I think that's next. I can check right now. Yes, it is. That's in 2 weeks over in Paris, France. So we're gonna look out for that one in a couple weeks. Thank y'all for watching, folks. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Thank y'all for watching. And Mamba forever.